Good evening, welcome to the August 15th meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation of pledge of allegiance. Dear Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business for the town of Glenville. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. As always, thank you for being the source of our guidance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Pittavani.
Here.
Councilman Yarbowski.
Here.
Councilman Yarbowski.
Here.
Councilwoman Worzbowski.
Here.
Supervisor Cassidy.
Here, as you can see, the agendas are up front, and I think for the first time in a long time, there's no amendments to them, so we'll just get started with item number 4, the town council reports. I'll start on my left with Councilman Godlewski.
Mr. Supervisor, just a reminder of the Thursday in the Park program that's ongoing. We're back again, and I'm sure you'll touch upon this in your supervisor report, back this Thursday with, and I apologize, I don't know the name, but it's a kind of a Dixieland band.
Yeah, the Red Royal Rhythm. It's a
It's a little, rolls off the tongue. Then next Thursday is date night at the park. There's a resolution on the agenda about that. Where they're airing, we're airing the movie Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe. My wife and I are looking forward to that. And then the last Thursday in the park is the kids' night with the featured kids movie. So that's exciting. It continues to grow. The signs are out around town. Other things to report on. I attended the recent park planning meeting. We continue to kind of go over what our priorities are, looking towards a parks master plan. We left that meeting with the understanding that Ms. Hillis would be emailing us all. We would essentially be rating different ideas for the various parks around town to get a better understanding of what the park kind of deems as its, I guess, top priorities, because there's a lot of different ideas for the parks. Lastly, I attended the zoning revision committee meeting. We met there with Planning for Places, who is going to be doing essentially some consultant work with us. We all kind of have an idea based on their model, the Complete Streets project that they put together for us as to what Freeman's Bridge Road, we want Freeman's Bridge Road to look like. Now we're kind of working the back end of that and trying to organize our zoning code to ensure that we kind of reach that desired result. We did have some discussion about the solar law that was adopted in December to see if there's some room. There are some people from West Glenville advocating for a modification to that to essentially allow ground-mounted solar in West Glenville. The kind of strongest counter argument being that ground-mounted solar would kind of disrupt the beauty and the scenery that West Glenville, we all know West Glenville provides. So we're looking at kind of other, and we're still kind of in the early stages as a society on solar. So kind of we're going to look at other municipalities' codes and see if we can maybe find something as far as setback, some level of tree cover to ensure that we protect the view sheds out in West Glenville. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Worzbowski.
I just have one event to report on that's coming up in September. Hard to believe we're talking about September, but West Glenville is having their second annual West Fest on September 16th from 2 to 9 of the 22nd.
16th is the fun day.
Oh, right, 16th is the fun day. That's right.
Not going on in September.
I'm telling you, I just can't keep it all straight.
I know.
So that's going to be fun. There's going to be double, and there'll probably be some officials there that could be done to people that wanted to. That's all I have.
Councilman Pittavani.
No report.
The 16th is also the councilman's birthday.
16th as well.
September is your birthday.
It is my birthday on the 16th.
See that? It's because it's my son's birthday every year.
I often wonder why you remembered my birthday.
Because I care about you, John.
Yeah,
That's
well, it
why.
makes sense now, it's your son's birthday.
Councilman Aragosa.
Just a couple things. I met today with the building and planning departments just to get a sense of their plans moving forward. I also, the planning department, or the building department told me that there's a couple projects that are getting started in terms of the C2 engineering, which is on Airport Road. That's going to be a nice project for the town.
C2 Tile.
C2, okay.
That's a tile company.
And then the Aldi project is moving along. There was a small issue with them working at hours that was undesirable. The building department was able to get that straightened out, so that's a good,
They're cranking.
yeah, yes, they are. Yeah, they're actually, I think the Aldi's is having a job fair starting, so I think it's next week. So they're looking to move it along. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. We have nobody signed up, but anyone wish to speak at privilege of the floor? I'll ask the three folks in the room. So we have to open privilege of the floor, and then seeing we have no takers, we'll close privilege of the floor. And move on to supervisors' comments to the board. Our attorney is running late tonight, so our goal is to end the meeting before he shows up.
We don't have to pay him for that.
No, that's right, absolutely. A few things just to catch up on. One is our CFA applications are in. We've applied for 5 things. One, as you know, is the bike hike trail from Freeman's Bridge Road to Shawneewee along the river, so that we feel is a strong application. It's been in before, it's come close before. We think we've got to a point where folks now see the value in that and how it connects to the Maxon Road bike path. So we're hoping that comes in for us. We did get a strong recommendation from the Village of Scotia, so there's support there between the municipalities on it because it does become the village's bike path as it crosses over towards Shawneewee. We also put in for the Melwick Park Expansion Program, which is the opportunity to purchase what we call the Richard Lewis property. He's offered a purchase for that property that would add 35 or so acres to Melwick if we can purchase it. There's park expansion money in the CFA this year, so we applied for the park expansion money. Hopefully that will be looked upon favorably. We put into the CFA the Yates Restoration Program, where we're looking for more funding. We've done well raising money so far, but obviously we have a ways to go, and so we've put into CFA for restoration funds for the Yates Mansion. And then the 2 other ones, smaller ones, is the micro enterprise loan we talked about when we passed the resolution last week. You all know about that for our small businesses, and then a vac truck for our highway department, purchase of a new vac truck. So those are all in. We'll know something in November if we get approved for any of them, and then be a 2019 funding for any of those. Speaking of Yates, we are continuing. We're waiting on our permit from the Department of Labor to start the demolition phase. And I know when you say demolition in Yates, people get nervous, but it's the back part. We've talked about this, I think, previously. The back part of the Yates Mansion that was put on in the 1990s, it has no historic value. It has no value really for space if you've been in there. There's no value there. SHPO has been through the building and has deemed it to be not protected, and actually they say it should go to try to restore it back to what it was. After that, we'll have a bid out for stripping the bathrooms and the kitchens. There's a number of bathrooms and kitchens from the mid-19th century, 20th century in there right now. They need to be stripped out. Basically bringing the structure back to the walls, the original walls. And SHPO is working with us on that as well. So those 2 things are hoped to be done this fall, and that will put us in position to start now coming back with the restoration of the building. So it looks like, I know to a lot of folks, it looks like now a lot's happening, but a lot's happening behind the scenes of getting prepared to get in position, and the fundraising piece of it as well. The famous sidewalks on Glen Ridge Road, which has taken a long time. Phase 1 bid was awarded. I don't think we got back the acceptance letter from the vendor yet. I know. So we're waiting on that back, but once that comes back, we'll be able to start Phase 1, which takes us to the History Center. And then Phase 2 is going out to bid. We're hoping to beat the season, try to get into this construction season. It's a little tight, but we do have still one property owner that we're still, I guess, supposed to have a counter offer on, but I think we need to move as briskly as we can to meet this construction season if we can. So we're working on that as we speak. Met with the school district, Scotia Glenville School District, and you're probably all very aware of the dangerous situation between where the kids have to walk between the middle school, along the road, and then get into the high school. The problem that has held that up for years is that everyone assumes we own that sidewalk. It's not a sidewalk, it's just a bunch of holes. But we only own the road. And so the folks that own the building on one side of the road also own the property on the other side of the road. We just have a road between their property. So it's not the town's property. A lot of folks thought it was our property. We couldn't do that. So I was able to set up a meeting between Metroplex, the school district, and the town, and we've come to an agreement where Metroplex is going to try to purchase those pieces of property from building owners. The town is going to work on putting a black pathway, not a paved pathway, not a sidewalk, and then the school district is going to maintain it. So we're working on that right now as we speak, but it's contingent on getting control of those little pieces of property on that side of the road. And so that's something that we're working on. The only other thing, Councilman Kaluski mentioned Thursdays in the Park. I do want to point out that I think it's been a very successful season so far this year. We've had about 65 folks at the first and then over 80 at the second. And each family coming in is commenting that they're hearing about it, and it's growing, and they're very appreciative, and they're very excited about having this in Glenville. And so that's really, I think, a positive. I can't thank stewards enough for all the ice cream they're handing out free to get people in there. But it's cool to see, families have come and they've set up little picnic tables, and they're eating their dinners, and it's just been a nice kind of event. I think Summer Market Hot's going to be a good night, and so we're hopeful for that. And then on the parks, real quick, I had a meeting today with the Scotia Glenville lacrosse team, who is interested in taking the place of where Burn Hill Soccer was in Indian Meadows. So Burn Hill Soccer has merged with Scotia Glenville Soccer, and they've moved to Melwick for the most part. They are using those soccer fields for some practice and for the real young kids. But by and large, those fields are going unused now, and we're maintaining them. So we went out to reach out to other teams, and lacrosse is in desperate need of a home. And so we're working on now trying to get lacrosse in on those fields. It'll be Scotia Glenville in the middle of the Burn Hills team, so I don't know how that will work out, but it'll be a fight or something. But, we're working on that. On budget, as you know, we've got the memo on the budget. I'll just touch on a few things in the memo for the edification of the public. But, we've got every year it's a challenge. I mean, it's never going to be a year without a challenge, so we're going to have challenges. Every municipality does. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges. Our tax cap will be 2% this year. That's been established. And so we're excited about that, because I think it's the first time in a long time that it's 2% actually. But that equates to about $180,000. We talked about this, I think, at our last meeting. And so $180,000 in new allowable levy is the tax cap. We do have a slight carryover, so we could theoretically go above the 2% and still stay under the tax cap because of the carryover. But right now, we're going to just say, let's just assume we're at 2% until we have a discussion on if we want to go over that or not, without breaking the tax cap. Some of the challenges, as you know, increased labor costs. The town is growing, and so do our labor needs. As we all know, we put on an additional police officer. We have a proposal coming in the 2019 budget to put on a second officer starting in July, just like we did in 2018. We've also added, I just want to remind the board, I know you know this, but a third staff member in the building department currently. We hired an additional employee in the water and sewer department, and we created a new director of human services position that's full-time. Each of these positions are needed and necessary, there's no question about it, but each one of them carries, I think, additional obvious challenges in the budget that wasn't there previously. The cost to fill these positions I just mentioned exceeds $250,000. Our tax cap's $180,000. That's a challenge. Challenge number one. The figures will also rise, obviously, as you know, through the years. They compound, and so we're going to face out-year challenges as well in these positions. Additionally, this may surprise some, but my 2019 budget will propose additional new staffing for parks in particular. This is something the board, perhaps not this board, but the board has spoke about for many years, needing to start to invest in our parks department. We've learned that trying to keep up in the parks, which are growing as well, has overtaxed the highway department, and other things aren't getting done in the highway department that need to get done. And things, frankly, aren't getting done in the parks that need to get done. So if we're going to have dog parks, and we're going to have acquisition, perhaps to Melwick and other things, and all the work we're doing in Melwick with the expansion of the fields and the pavilions, that it makes sense that we start to dedicate some labor to those parks. That's going to provide another challenge. I also believe that we need to look at additional resources in our planning department, and I don't know if you had that conversation when you spoke to them, but the two folks there are overwhelmed in the grant administration. This town, the fortunate thing is received a lot of grants. The unfortunate thing is there's a lot of work in grant administration. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time, or even maybe it's something we can contract, but it's something I think we need to contemplate in this budget. And then I believe we have to look at some sort of increase for our town historian operations. We currently pay our town historian $1,500 a year. I almost said $15,000, but it's $1,500 a year. I believe we have to start making that investment, not all at once, but we have to start building, I think, towards a more professional historian's office. And not that we don't have a professional, but we do have someone who is maybe looking to, not stay, potentially. The increased benefit cost, as you also know, compounds each and every year. Based on what we're seeing in our health insurance premiums alone, we estimate our health care expense to increase by somewhere between $120,000 and $150,000. So that will really consume most of the cap. All that other stuff I talked about, we've got to figure that out. One of the things, we hit a milestone. In 2019, town residents will pay over $4 million to provide benefits to 130 town employees and retirees. We've hit the $4 million mark, or will, in 2019. That should cause us all to kind of pause a moment. That's a lot of money. And I think we have to figure out how do we manage that better going forward, and that's going to be a challenge. Another challenge, it won't surprise the board, we've talked about flat revenues, I won't get into it too much, but we've had virtually zero sales tax revenue growth from 2004 to will be 2020, before the next deal. We can't face all these challenges I just talked about without revenue that should be shared fairly with the towns and all the municipalities in the community. So that is a huge challenge that we're going to have to face in this budget as well. And then finally, the capital projects and equipment needs. We've talked about this for a long time. We're currently reviewing various options for capital needs. We happen to be in a position like other municipalities in this area where we've vastly outgrown. The highway department is antiquated and doesn't meet the needs. The town hall is antiquated and hasn't met our needs. These are all things we have to look at. We have the $1.5 million for the police department. You don't put $1.5 million into a building that you're not sure you're going to stay in. So I think this is going to be the year that the board has to make a decision. And I think we have to address that in this budget as well. Timeline, just so everyone's clear, we've set up a meeting with the department heads and liaisons. You've all been, you're all locked into your dates, I believe. So we will meet Those meetings will take place at the end of August, and as you know, we all have your dates. And then we'll go to work on this budget for the next 4 weeks after that. I'll submit my budget to the clerk on the 30th. I believe it falls on the 28th this year, but by the 30th. The town clerk will then submit it to the board for the October 3rd meeting, and then we'll go to work on potential revisions after that as we go through. The public hearing will be November 7th. Any revisions will be that night, and adoption will also be that night on November 7th. It's been my practice, as my 9 years as supervisor, to work in consultation with the board members for a supervisor's budget, preliminary budget that is sound and is generally agreed upon. So we'll be working closely in the month of September with each of you and the department heads and trying to find a budget that works. But I do ask, as you know, as you read that budget memo, to keep some of these challenges in mind. I think the town has stepped up this year in particular and has really put a lot of investment into people. We've done a lot in the past in technology, new systems, new water meters. We've done a lot to make things more efficient. Obviously, we still have to look at the highway department, see what kind of capital needs they have for trucks and things like that. But we have significant challenges, and these new positions is going to require some creative thinking on how we can meet that while continuing to provide the value to the residents without breaking the tax cap. So that's all I have tonight. We're going to start the budget season, so that's exciting. Most wonderful time of the year. And anything for me? Questions, comments? Thank you. So on that, get back to the agenda. Just somewhere in the file here. I'm going to start with Resolution 7, supporting the submittal of the DOS request for that bike trail I talked about. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, as you stated, this motion is in relation to the Scotia Glen portion of the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail. It's in connection with the New York State Department of State providing funding through the 2018 CFA process through Environmental Protection Fund, Local Water Fund Revitalization Program. I don't even want to try to think of an acronym for that. For qualified projects that focus on construction of land and water-based trails to create physical linkages between community centers, water-based parks, open spaces, businesses, and historic and scenic and cultural sites. So, it is estimated that the total project cost to reconstruct the Scotia Glenville portion of the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail would be approximately $625,908. New York State Department of State requires that an applicant leverage additional resources, including a minimum of 25% of the total project cost and matching funds. So, should this resolution pass, the town of Glenville would agree to contribute 25% of the total project cost in the form of a 14.5% monetary contribution and in the amount of $90,795, and in-kind services valued at $65,682. This resolution would authorize you, the town supervisor, to file a 2018 consolidated funding application for funds from the New York State Department of State in the amount of $469,431 to reconstruct the Scotia Glenville portion of the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail, and to, upon approval of said funding, to execute a project grant agreement with New York State for such financial assistance, but also authorize you, town supervisor, to undertake any and all necessary steps to accomplish the intent of this resolution.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please report the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Kessler?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 8, authorizing the purchase of a Chevy Silverado. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with the proposed purchase of a 2019 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD Crew Cab 4x4, there was one previously approved by this town board that was adopted in the 2018 budget. Commissioner of Public Works now advises that department needs would be best served by purchasing a second 2019 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD Crew Cab 4x4. The vendor, Capolino Chevrolet, 9000 Boston, State Road, Boston, New York, was a low bidder under New York State OGS mini bid and state contract numbers that resulted in the purchase of the first vehicle. They said they will honor that same bid price of $37,795.68, which includes delivery for the second identical vehicle. This resolution that passed would authorize the Commissioner of Public Works to purchase a second 2019 Chevy Silverado Chevrolet F-150 Crew Cab 4x4 at a cost not to exceed $30,800, with the expense of said vehicle included in the adopted 2018 budget.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aramcoso?
Yes.
Councilman Godowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Capson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 9, authorizing the purchase of a J-Jag winged snowplow. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with the need of a new snowplow system on the 2015 Chevy Silverado 3500, which is utilized for plowing parking lots, town facilities, and similar sized areas. The J-Jag winged snowplow system manufactured and installed by sole source provider MDI Truck of Auburn, New York. The Commissioner of Public Works said that would best meet departmental needs, including the 2018 adopted budget would be required $6,270 for this purchase. So should this resolution pass, would authorize the Commissioner of Public Works to contract with MDI Truck of Auburn, New York for our one J-Jag wing snowplow system with a total amount of $6,270, which said expense has been included in the 2018 adopted budget.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aramcoso?
Yes.
Councilman Godowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Capson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 10, scheduling a public hearing regarding a extension to a sewer district. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with establishing a public hearing for proposed extension of sewer district number 9 of the property located at 3 Portsmouth Drive. The public hearing would be held on September 5th, 2018 at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aramcoso?
Yes.
Councilman Godowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Capson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, scheduling a public hearing for an extension to the water district. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is in connection with the proposed extension of water district number 11, scheduling a public hearing for one parcel located at 12 Van Buren Lane to be connected to water district number 11. Public hearing would be held September 5th, 2018 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as we could do that here at Town Hall.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aramcoso?
Yes.
Councilman Godowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Capson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, authorizing the waiver of certain park rules. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is the resolution that would permit for the sale of alcohol at 3 various events to occur in town parks. Those being the special date night for the Thursday in the Park on August 23rd, the Oktoberfest at Howell Park on September 29th, and something called the Schenectady County GOP Family Fun Day in Indian Meadows on September 16th. I don't know if you know that'll be attending that up here.
You're
But-
invited. There'll be beer.
But yes, and there will be beer. So yes, it's something that that we've done obviously in the past with special events.
Yes. I think it's funny we need date night, beer at date night, but I guess make it go smooth, I guess. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aramcoso?
Yes.
Councilman Godowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Capson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, appointing certain individuals to the ZBA. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the
Have
motion.
a second.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this would appoint 2 members to fill vacancies on the Zoning Board of Appeals, one being Beth Kissinger, the other being Juliana Febo. Mr. Supervisor, you sent out the resumes via email, just a little bit of background. Ms. Kissinger is a CPA with an office locally in town on 50. Juliano is a fellow millennial, who I'm happy to see getting involved in terms. Term commencing for Ms. Kissinger would be August 16, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2020. And for Mr. Febo, commencing August 16, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2019.
Councilman Euro, Melanio?
They're kind of restructuring that. But
Oh,
I still
restructuring.
there's some
Technicality,
technicality
I was gonna say.
Yes, I slide in there.
You're like a senior, Melanio.
I am. I'm one of the stage members of the millennial generation.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just like to add that I've known Beth Kissinger for many, many years, and I've known her to be a very involved member in our community. She's been involved in a number of committees and events throughout the years, and I think that she will be an asset to this board, and I'm pleased to see her becoming involved at this level with the town. She's just, I think she's going to be an asset to the board. I'm looking forward to meeting Mr. Febo as liaison to CBA.
The chair has recommended both. They were part of as I think I put in the email, part of a screening process for previous position on the planning board. And so they were kind of locked and loaded, and they came under recommendation of the chair. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record.
Councilman Pillapani?
Yes.
Councilman Yarborough?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, approving monthly departmental reports for July. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution that we see at each meeting during the summertime, and we see it every other meeting during the non-summertime. Essentially, we receive reports from department heads in our emails. It includes reports from the assessor, economic development and planning, justice department, receiver of taxes, and the town clerk's office. We've all received them, and I would thank the department heads for their preparation.
Any questions or comments?
Just also reiterate Mike's thanks to the department heads for their work.
Thank you. Seeing no other comment, please record the vote.
Councilman Pillapani?
Yes.
Councilman Yarborough?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. The next item is new business, and we'll start on my right with Councilman Pillapani.
I don't think I have any.
Councilman Aragosa.
I have no business.
Councilman Godlewski. New business. Councilwoman Wozzachowski.
I have nothing except to extend a very sincere invitation to both of our other board members to the SGGOP Family Days, because it wasn't just for Republican members of the town. We had a really nice attendance. Last year, there was a Scotia versus Glenville softball game, and I have to tell you, Glenville won last year, and we need to hold the title, so we'll take all comers. Doesn't matter.
Mr. Godlewski is the base.
I guess I would just comment that I am a member of the Liberty League champion 2005 skateboard baseball team. So it is
Councilman Godlewski, I mean, it's for the town.
it is an
It's
interesting.
for the town, it's the town's.
Your money would be
title.
well spent, so I can guarantee you that, Mr. Godlewski.
And there's food, and there's beer, and there's rides.
The only thing I just want to say on new business is just a reminder, we go back to our regular schedule in September, so our town board meeting will be the 5th, our work session will be the 12th, our next board meeting after that will be the 19th, and we'll be back to that 3-meeting schedule. Also, just to let folks know offhand, I forgot to mention, September 11th will be, the ceremony will happen again at the Lighthouse, as it has every year for the past 10, I think. It'll start at 5 o'clock on September 11th, and of course, all are invited for that. So,
And those people that are interested in primaries, that they're not on Tuesday, September 11th, but Thursday.
correct. So whatever the primary is for whoever is in it is not on Tuesday this year, because it's September 11th. They moved it to Thursday the 13th. So if you vote in the primaries, just take note of that. And with nothing else, that's for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
No one wants to adjourn. Second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.